Zang, The Organ Systems of Traditional Chinese Medicine by Jeremy Ross. Chapter 4 Origins of Disease. Heat and fire. The term fire has two meanings. Number 1, the internal evil. Number 2, the normal fire of the body. A. Fire as opposed to water. B. Fire as one of the 5 phases. These two meanings of the word fire, referring to the pathological and the physiological respectively, should not be confused. The term heat indicates an evil, either external or internal. In the sense of an internal evil, the terms heat and fire may be used interchangeably, or the use of one term or the other may depend upon the situation and upon convention. Fire sometimes refers to the extreme heat. Heat is a young evil and is associated with summer in 5-phase theory, but may occur in any season, especially in those predisposed to this condition. It tends to rise and affect the upper body. It tends to damage in, and hence the in functions of cooling, moistening, nourishing, and resting. Part 1. The background. Table 4.10. Signs associated with damage of in functions by heat. The in function of cooling, if it damages from heat, it's the signs of heat is fever, for example. The in function of moistening, if it is damaged by heat, the sign is dryness, for example, thirst. The in function of nourishing, if it damaged by heat, its signs is weakness, for example, post-febrile debility. In function of resting, if it damaged by heat, if it signs that overactivity, for example, insomnia. The effect of heat upon the substances and their circulation is 1. To damage in and dry up the fluids, resulting in reduced, darker, thick, or sticky secretions and excretions. Number 2. To damage in, resulting in disturbance of Shen with insomnia, restlessness, overexcitability, and delirium. Number 3. To lead to reckless movement of Xue with hemorrhage and skin eruptions. The Zangfu, which are prone to deficient in, are those prone to the effect of heat and fire. The basis of all deficient in is deficient Shen in, and those Zangfu likely to be affected by this pattern are Gan, Xin, Fei, and Wei. Deficient Shen in is associated with reduced fluids and scanty dark urine. Deficient Gan in is associated with hyperactivity of Gan yang and Gan fire, and hence with headaches and anger. Deficient in Xin in is associated with disturbance of Shen, and hence with confused speech and anxiety. Deficient Fei yin is hemoptysis, and deficient Wei yin is associated with irritation of the stomach, and hence with dry vomiting. External heat. The pattern of external heat may arise from exposure of the body to environmental heat, and corresponds to the Wei stage in the Wei Qi Yin Xie, a classification of warm diseases. It also corresponds to the relatively early stage of infectious hepatitis diseases in Western medicine. The signs of external heat are high fever, patient feels hot, fear of heat, preference for cold, thirst, dry mouth, preference for cool drink, swollen sore throat, dark scanty urine, constipation, face and body red skin eruptions, perhaps hemoptysis, insomnia and irritability, perhaps delirium, rapid pulse, and red tongue with yellow coat. Internal heat. Internal heat is associated with disturbance of the balance of yin-yang within the body or within one or more organs in particular. It is associated with the patterns of deficient yin discussed above. Prolonged external heat may eventually lead to deficient Shen yin, which in turn may lead to internal heat, which may then further damage Shen yin, which will increase the effect of external heat upon the body. Table 4.11. Signs and pathology of external heat. Signs of feels hot, fears heat, seeks cold and fever. The pathology is hyperactivity of heat in the body. Signs of perspiration, which pathology is fluids forced out by heat. Signs of thirst, dry mouth, scanty urine, and constipation. Those pathology is consumption of fluids by heat. Signs of face and body red, red skin eruptions, hemorrhage. Those pathology are reckless movement of share associated with heat in share. Signs of insomnia and irritability. Those pathology are disturbance of Shen associated with the damage of yin by heat. Signs of rapid pulse, which pathology is hyperactivity of heat in the body. Signs of red tongue with thin yellow coat. The pathology is effect of heat upon share in tongue and effect of heat upon digestion. As with external and internal cold, the borderline between external and internal heat is rather vague and artificial. Table 4.12. Comparison of signs of external heat and internal heat. The fever is a common sign of external heat and internal heat, but external heat, the fever with fear of wind. But internal heat, fever is higher. If the rapid pulse happens, both in external heat and internal heat, but external heat, the pulse is superficial, rapid pulse. Otherwise, internal heat, the rapid pulse is full rapid pulse. The common signs is red tongue with yellow coat. But if it happens by external heat, it tongue with thin yellow coat. But otherwise, internal heat, redder tongue with thicker yellow coat. In Table 4.12, the internal heat pattern is simply the progression of the external heat pattern into a deeper level of the body. The heat is more severe and has been in the body longer. This is an excess internal heat pattern and should not be confused with the deficient internal heat patterns associated with deficient yin of one or more of the Zang. Relationships with other factors. External wind and external heat may be closely associated, and external wind may transform to heat within the body. Both heat and wind are yang phenomena tending to raise up the body and be associated with rapid disturbed movement of qi and xue within the channels. Wind is more mobile, and the internal wind may arise as a result of internal heat and fire, just as a fire creates a drought in the natural world. Both wind and fire may be associated with disturbance of Shen and with disorder of the circulation in the channels of the head. Heat and cold are the facets of fire and water, themselves aspects of yin and yang, and both external and internal heat and cold are closely associated with relative deficiencies of yin and yang within the body. Damp. Like cold, damp is yin factor, And also like cold, it is related to the slowing, restriction, retardation, and stagnation of the circulation of qi and jingye. However, although both cold and damp are associated with pain arising from the obstruction of qi flow, cold pain is sharp, severe, and cramping, whereas damp pain is more dull and lingering with a feeling of heaviness. There may be feeling of dullness and heaviness of the head, as if it were tightly bandaged, or in a sack. There may be fullness in the chest and epigastrium. The limbs may feel heavy, stiff, and sore, and there may be a general feeling of lassitude. Unlike wind, which is light and young and tends to affect the upper parts of the body, damp is heavy and in, and tends to affect the lower parts of the body first. Also, unlike wind, which is often associated with signs that come and go and move from place to place, damp is accompanied by signs that are lingering and of fixed location. Pathogenic damp is also turbid and foul in nature, arising from stagnation and giving rise to it. Signs of damp may include skin diseases, ulcers, and abscesses with oozing discharge, turbid urine, diarrhea, and heavy purulent ricoria with a foul odor. External damp. In TCM, damp is associated with a late summer rainy season, but may arise in any season, especially in individuals who are prone to its effects, living in humid climates, working in water or in misty areas, living in damp rooms, wearing clothes moist with rain or perspirations, or sitting or lying on damp ground, may all result in invasion of the body by external damp. Damp is in and tends to depress the yang functions of movement and transformation of the substances, especially of qi and jingye. Among the Zang, damp tends to depress pi function, and if the body is exposed to external damp and cold for prolonged periods, Sheng and pi yang may become weakened. Signs of external damp may include aversion to damp, lethargy, feeling of heaviness in head or limbs, feeling of fullness in chest or abdomen, loss of appetite, nausea, indigestion, diarrhea, abdominal oedema, cloudy urine, vaginal discharge, fluid-filled skin eruptions, slippery pulse, and tongue with thick white greasy coat. Internal damp. Internal damp is associated with accumulation and stagnation of fluid that may accompany the patterns of deficient Pi-Qi, deficient Pi-Yang, and deficient Shen-Yang. Internal damp may obstruct the circulation in Jing-Luo, facilitating the invasion of the body by external damp, or over a period of time, external damp may accumulate within the body, damage Shen and Pi-Yang, and merge with internal damp. Table 4.13 Signs and pathology of external damp. Signs of lethargy, which pathology is damp depresses pi function with a deficiency of qi and shui. Damp is turbid and lingering and obstructs free movement of qi and shui in Jing-Luo. Signs of feeling of heaviness and in head or limbs, feeling of fullness in chest or abdomen, aversion to damp. Those pathology is damp is heavy and slow and dulls the circulation of qi and shui in Jing-Luo of head, limbs, chest, and abdomen. Signs of loss of appetite, nausea, indigestion, and diarrhea. Those pathology is damp depresses the pi function of digestion. The signs of cloudy urine, incomplete urination, and abdominal oedema, leukorrhea, fluid-filled skin eruptions. Those pathology is damp is associated with depression of pi function of transformation and transportation of Jingye, with obstruction and accumulation of turbid fluids. Signs of slippery pulse. The pathology represents damp and phlegm in the body. Signs of tongue with thick greasy coat. The pathology represents depression of P function with accumulation of damp or phlegm. The signs of external damp and internal damp are compared in Table 4.14. Table 4.14. Comparison of signs of external damp and internal damp. External damp. The common signs of feelings of fullness and heaviness, slippery pulse, or greasy tongue coat. If it happens by external damp, it has thinner tongue coat, acute, and following exposure to external damp. But those common signs happens from internal damp. It has a thicker tongue coat, and pain is chronic, and following exposure to external damp. Relationship with other factors. Damp is often associated with cold or damp cold, and with heat or damp heat. If the body tends to deficient yang, then the deprivation by damp of the yang function of movement of qi may be associated with internal cold. Alternatively, the external environment may be both damp and cold, and these factors may invade the body together. However, long accumulation of damp may give rise to heat and the phenomenon of damp heat. Although this may occur more readily in an individual tending to deficient yin and to internal heat, it may also occur in persons tending to deficient qi and deficient yang, in local areas of the body where damp has long accumulated. In fact, deficiency of qi is associated with poor circulation of qi, which contributes to local stagnation and accumulation of damp, which may become damp heat. The signs of damp, cold, heat, damp cold, and damp heat are differentiated in Table 4.15. Compare Table 4.15 to comparison of signs of damp, cold, heat, damp cold, and damp heat. The signs of feeling. The cold is feeling of cold. The damp cold feeling is feelings of cold and heaviness or fullness. The feeling of damp. The feelings are of heaviness and fullness. The signs of feelings. The feeling of from damp heat. It is of heat and heaviness or fullness. The feeling of heat. It is of heat. The signs of pulse. From cold, the pulse is slow and tight, and damp cold, pulse is slippery and slow. And it's damp, the pulse is slippery, and it's damp heat, the pulse is slippery and rapid, which is from heat, the pulse is rapid. The signs of tongue coat. If it's cold, it's white. It's the tongue coat from damp cold. It's white and greasy, and it's from damp. The tongue coat is greasy. And damp heat, the tongue coat is yellow and greasy. And from heat, the tongue coat is yellow. Accumulation of damp associated with deficiency of P may give rise to phlegm. The relationship of fluids, P, damp, and phlegm is discussed on page 840, 84 to 86, and the relationship of phlegm and damp with cold and heat are summarized in figure 8.1. Phlegm is heavier, thicker, and more solid than damp, and this is reflected in the differences in the signs of two patterns, as summarized in Table 4.16. For example, damp is associated with feeling of wholeness and heaviness, but phlegm may form acuture lumps and tumors. Table 4.16. Comparison of signs of damp and phlegm. Common signs of signs of P, disharmony, slippery pulse, and greasy tongue coat. But damp has feeling of fullness and heaviness in limbs and trunk, feeling of heaviness in head, cloudy secretions. And signs of phlegm, the lumps and nodules, severe dizziness and sputum. Dryness. Traditionally, invasion of the body by external dryness was said to happen in China in the dry atmosphere of late autumn. Clinically, external dryness is not an important factor, and internal dryness is not usually considered as a separate category, but included in the patterns of heat and deficient in. Dryness is a yang factor and injures yin and fluids. Signs of dryness are rough, dry, chapped skin, dry nose, mouth, lips, and tongue. Dry, sore throat with dry cough and little sputum, and dry stools. Both heat and dryness are yang and injure yin and fluids, and often occur together. Heat may have signs of dryness, but in addition may have signs such as redness, fever, perspiration, and feelings of heat. Heat is much the more important of the two patterns. They is prone to invasion by external dryness, which may manifest as dry cough with no or scanty sputum, dry nose and throat, and possible pain or difficulty of breathing, as described on page 144. The effects of external dryness may be potentiated by external wind, which will increase the drying effect, or by the pattern of deficient in, which is accompanied by deficiency of fluids. Summer heat. Traditionally, summer heat is an external factor only. It occurs solely in summer. It may be associated with prolonged exposure to the heat of the sun, or by staying in a hot room with inadequate ventilation. However, it would be hard to separate this effect from that of working in a hot environment. For example, a furnace in a season other than summer. In other words, the same condition might be alternatively described as external heat or summer heat. Summer heat is a yang factor which is said to consume qi and yin and disturb the shen. Signs may be sudden high fever, excessive perspiration, red dry skin, restlessness, lassitude, thirst, shortness of breath, and concentrated urine. In severe cases, there may be sudden delirium or loss of consciousness. Summer heat is said to have an upward direction and a dispersive, expansive nature. Li Shichen states that it can scatter the qi and that the pulse may become empty. Summary. The effect of the 6 pernicious influences in the body resemble the effect of the 6 climatic factors in the external environment, the world of nature. For example, cold is associated with the slowing of movement and the reduction of activity in both the body and the outside the world. In the winter seasons, the energies of nature and the body of the body go deeper in, and there is less external activity. This is a season of rest and of stretch and of cold. In TCM, each of the 6 pernicious influences is seen not so much as a cause, with specific signs for its effects, but as an integral part of an overall pattern. For example, heat is not the cause of the disharmony. It is a part of the disharmony, as are the internal pathological changes, the externally observable signs, and the functional framework of the body itself. Indeed, all these components of the pattern of disharmony are so closely associated as to be inseparable. A pre-existing internal disharmony may facilitate invasion of the body by an external factor, which may then aggravate that internal disharmony. The situation is not so much a linear chain of cause and effect, or even a vicious cycle. It is more the simultaneous occurrence of phenomena interwoven into a pattern.